I'm not going to lie. Every single freaking time I watch the trailer for Tenet, I get freaking hype. Every time.
I want Hilary Swank in the next Terminator movie so bad.
There is nothing in this world that you give me to do to hug a robot.
It's because it's so incredible and intricate that it's impossible not to notice.
Music's the core of this movie.
I was born again to watch this movie.
You'll find redeeming things and you'll be thinking about it for a long time afterwards.
There was no bone saw.
Just John hamming it up over here.
2.5 out of 3 of us recommend it.
Everybody loves talking about movies. Let's talk about movies.
Welcome to the Pause, Rewind, Play podcast. I love to introduce myself this way and introduce our podcast this way, and everyone is slightly chuckling because I sound like a robot still. Haven't quite got the mic problems fixed, but you will hear this and I will have a normal voice and you'll just think I'm crazy. But once again, welcome to our podcast. We're thrilled to have you here. We have our regular, reoccurring cast in the house. Josh, how's it going?
Hey, it's going fairly good.
Fairly good. That's good. Oscars are tomorrow?
Oscars are tomorrow, which is the good part. The fairly is because, obviously the 49ers lost the Super Bowl, so still dealing with some post-Super Bowl depression. But besides that, all is good. Oscars are tomorrow.
I'm
so
sorry
super pumped.
that your team lost.
Is okay. Patty Mahomes did his thing. So
He did his thing. Vince, hi.
Yeah, Patty Mahomes. Woo! I'm sorry, I don't know.
He sounds like a rapper, actually, when you say it like that. Patty Mahomes in the house! And then he's got like some song about tossing the football every day to my peeps as I go out and play.
you call him like M.
right.
Chief Ketchup or something.
No. Vince, how's life been treating you?
It's good. Everything's going great. Crazy busy week at work this week, but we got through it, and we had a work event that I had a lot of work to do on, so I'm excited for this next week to play catch up on the work that I need to get done.
It's always the best. Hey, will you go do this thing so that we can delay your work by a week, and then we can ask you about delayed deadlines?
Oh, that's me all the time. They're like, oh, we need you to do this thing. Hey, how's this other project coming along? Oh, I don't know because it got delayed because you were like, hey, get this done today.
And that voice is my lovely wife, Allie. How's it going?
Hello, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
We're glad that you joined us. I'm glad you went to the movie with me today.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'll always go to movies with you.
Woo! Well, we're talking Birds of Prey, but before we kind of jump in, let's kind of hurry and revisit what we watched this week. Let's start with Vince. Did you watch anything great?
No, nothing new. I was talking about it with Josh. Like, we rewatched a bunch of stuff. We rewatched Free Solo. We started rewatching Game of Thrones because my wife just finished the book. So yeah, nothing that I really want to go into. Just getting back into things that I've seen already. So if you have any, recommendations, I'm open for something.
Rewatching Free Solo is like a solid thing to do.
Yeah,
I did it not too long ago and it was awesome.
Hope hadn't seen it, so I was like, well, we're putting this on.
It's a good adrenaline rush.
Oh my goodness. Even because seeing it the second time obviously isn't the same as seeing it the first time, but it's just so amazing.
And it also isn't the same as seeing it on the IMAX like I did the first time.
yeah.
Like IMAX, the sense of scale is so huge, with those amazing, incredible shots looking off the cliffs and everything. On my 55-inch TV, it's just not as grandiose, It's still really cool, the whole story of it all. And Jimmy Chin is my secret crush hero. He's so cool. So I don't know, I enjoy watching that kind of.
Well, the first time I watched it, sorry, I could talk about Free Solo all the time, but just like how much of a character study it is, as much as like the story of him climbing it is so amazing. But I'll stop. Sorry.
No, it's
Free
good.
Solo.
Free Solo. Josh, what have you been watching this week?
I watched a couple things during the night because during the first half of the week, my wife was away. I watched 28 Days Later for the first time, which I'd never seen before. A horror movie from the early 2000s with Cillian Murphy.
Oh, I remember that.
Zombies.
Not to be confused with 28 Days with Sandra Bullock.
Exactly.
Huh?
That's an Office reference.
It is. I got it.
And then over my head, I was just like, that's an interesting movie. Zombies with Sandra Bullock.
And it was fine. It wasn't anything super crazy, but movie I watched that I did.
It was fine. I love 28 Days Later.
Fine. It was whatever.
Okay.
Maybe we watch it. Maybe we have a discussion about it.
He already did.
Well, because I was going to. So what was going to happen that night? I was going to watch 28 Days Later, and then I was going to watch 28 Weeks Later. Right.
I haven't seen that one. I heard it wasn't as good.
Yeah. well, so that's what I heard as well. But I'm like, maybe if the first one's still really good, though, I'll be wanting more. I watched 28 Days Later, and I was like, nah, I don't want to watch this anymore.
Well, from what I remember, 28 Weeks Later is more of a blockbuster. 28 Days Later is more of an indie film, right?
It seemed kind of indie, yeah.
Like indie-ish, slower,
Uh-huh.
kind of. And then the sequel, I think, was more of a Dawn of the Dead reboot style,
And
where it's more action horror than... Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I recognized a single actor in 28 Days Later except for Cillian Murphy, and it was sort of before he was big, right?
Didn't you see his butt?
Yeah, you saw more than his butt.
Oh, is it more? It's been a long time.
Oh yeah, like one of the very first. So it starts with like the infection and how it happened with like these animal rights activists trying to free these monkeys that had the infection or whatever, and then after that it cuts to like what I now found out that The Walking Dead obviously stole from 28 Days Later. He like wakes up from a coma like in the hospital because he wasn't in the first part. It just shows him, and it's just like an overhead shot of him with no blanket and no clothes on.
That's like
So,
a trope, was it the first Resident Evil movie or the second Resident Evil movie? One of those Resident Evil movies did the same thing where she wakes up in the hospital with just the
You just wake
gown
up
on.
and it's
just
an apocalypse.
Yeah, it's the trope of the zombie apocalypse. You have to wake up in a hospital.
You just wake up and it happens. So you can get the reaction of, oh crap, like
is
not the
happening?
slow descent into the world.
Yeah.
But yeah. But anyway, so the thing that I actually really did like a lot this week was I hit up one of the movies that I really wanted to watch in 2019 but never got around to, Fighting with My Family.
Yes.
Which, by the way, super, super good.
Is that
I
the
am-
wrestling movie?
Yeah, I am not a WWE guy. Like, I'm not
Me neither.
someone to like go and be like, boo, this is garbage. It's like all like fake and stuff. Like, no, they're so crazy, like athletes and stuff like that. I'm like, it's cool, but it's not my thing.
So you didn't go to Raw on Monday night, is what you're
No,
saying?
I
Oh,
did
okay.
not. Whereas I know a lot of people who did.
Yeah.
But like, I
Did
watched
Michael
that
go?
movie.
Did Michael go?
I don't know, but one of my coworkers did.
Michael, if you went, please text me and tell you.
Who went
if
to
you did.
Raw?
Roman.
Oh, that makes sense.
I wonder if Roman Reigns was there. He's a wrestler.
Maybe that's the Roman I'm talking about.
Oh,
Surprise!
He works at where you work? Oh my gosh.
We work with the famous people. But yeah, it was really good. Shout out to Oscar nominee Florence Pugh for a super awesome performance about a real life story of Paige from WWE. So check it out if you can. It's on Hulu right now, streaming for free. So do it.
I second that. It's good.
Allie, did you watch anything good this week?
Well, we've been rewatching Scandal. Casey's been watching it for the first time.
I have something scandal related in this.
Not scandalous, Vin. Something scandal related.
That's
Just
fine.
kidding.
I love Scandal. Kerry Washington it's a great show. I don't know. What do you think about it? It's your first time seeing it.
You were telling us about it last week.
I've been enjoying it.
Was that the one that you described as kisses? Or was that a
Probably.
different one? I can't remember.
I don't know. Could have been.
But yeah, so it's a classic. Shonda Rhimes. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Check it out. You guys just took drinks of your sodas at exactly the same time.
And we used the same arm to drink with.
That was funny.
Oh.
Okay.
Our brains are in sync.
Doppelgangers.
But what else did you watch?
We also watched Next in Fashion this week.
We did.
And I binge watched the whole thing this week because I loved it. If you like Queer Eye, Tan France is the
Host?
thank you, and one of the judges. And it's about designers. It's kind of in the same vein as what's the one? Designers.
Project Runway.
Thank you.
Designers make
Designers
it work.
make it work. Yes,
I love
Project
how
Runway.
We only know that because of Parks and Rec.
Yes, I have seen like one season of it, but yeah, Next in Fashion was great, super entertaining. The clothes that they made were incredible. There are several pieces that I'm like, oh man, I wish I was rich so I could buy those. But
Yeah, I really have to start saving my money to afford Allie's taste.
that the whole boxer outfit that Charles Liu makes, watch it, see it, fall in love with it like I did. Buy it for me.
Save up your pennies. Buy
So
it.
would you recommend to a friend to watch Next in Fashion?
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Wow. Well, crazy. I'm going to take over what I've been watching this week.
Do it.
Hey.
So I've been also watching Scandal. So yeah, it's good. You should watch it. It's interesting. It's like an alternate timeline of the American presidency. and there's still like the same type of stuff going on, but it's slightly different. So I think that's kind of intriguing because I like American history, and I think that we're being fed lies all the time from our government. So it's kind of interesting.
That's what Scandal's about?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's about essentially.
Why did I think it was like a Pretty Little Liars?
No.
Why did I think that?
I know nothing about Pretty Little Liars other than I remember seeing a bunch of people posting hashtag PLL all the time.
I just assumed it was in that same genre because I don't know anything about Scandal.
When I was in college, I watched that with my roommates, and I watched it up until the point where it just got so ridiculous that I was like, this show, I can't. Freaking Pretty Little Liars is the dumbest. Like, it's so good for a while, and then it just gets so stupid. Anyway,
I don't know anything about it.
So watch Pretty Little Liars.
like just all the plot holes. Anyway, but no, Scandal is amazing.
Okay.
Olivia Pope is everything. Red wine and popcorn for life.
Does it surprise you that there was a potential Scandal connection in this movie?
Definitely.
Are you excited to hear
I'm
how?
very excited to hear
okay,
about
well,
it.
You have
hold
her
your-
eyebrow raised.
Just hold on to that feeling for a little bit. We'll get to it.
Well, I'll just hurry and dive into what I watched, which is one thing. I finished The Two Popes. Really cool. Love it. I'm going to write a blog post about it because I have a lot of thoughts on it. But I also watched and revisited a classic film from the 80s.
Back to the Future.
No.
Street Fighter.
No.
I don't know when that came. I think that was a 90s movie.
I revisited and rewatched Willow.
Ah.
What a great show. It warms my heart.
My wife loves Willow.
We should do
Willow.
We should do an episode on Willow. I'm dead serious. I would love to talk Willow because it's so great.
I wish you all could see Vince's like trying to smile grimace right now.
Yeah, Willow. I'd watch Willow. I don't love Willow, but it would make my wife happy for an excuse to watch it. So
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's great.
it's on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's where I watched it. Sorry, Disney Plus, I think. And then did I talk about What We Do in the Shadows? We watched it a couple weeks ago, and I love that show.
It's so good.
I just had to bring it up.
Start watching the show. Have you guys watched the TV show?
We just canceled Hulu.
Oh no!
It's been quite depressing since we
There-
did that. Maybe I'll sign up.
Maybe we should re-sign up and make Josh start paying us half again.
It's worth
I
it.
already got a different Hulu guy.
Dang it.
There's an episode
He's
of
borrowing his
sorry.
ex's Hulu password. Well, what's up, Vince?
There's an episode of the TV show What We Do in the Shadows where they bring in like every actor who's ever played a vampire. Like Tilda Swinton, Taika Waititi comes back into it. I can't remember. I think they reference Kiefer Sutherland, but I don't think he's actually there. I'm spacing his name right now, but the guy who plays Wesley Snipes shows up in it. Like
Blade?
big name actors show up in this episode. Bautista's in that episode. Like all in one 20-minute little episode of this FX show on Hulu, and it's so funny.
Okay, I think we might have to re-get it because Allie really enjoyed it. I've been really getting into like Taika Waititi lately, so he's cool. I think I mispronounced his name, but whatever.
No, I think it's
I hate
That's all right.
vampire movies and anything to do with vampires. I just have never found them interesting or intriguing, but I laughed my ass off at that movie.
What did you think when I used to watch Underworld all the
Oh
time?
my god, don't get me started.
I love those movies.
I also liked the first Underworld.
But
Kate Beckinsale, man, another one of these immortal people. Like the older she gets, the prettier she gets.
it comes with age.
It comes with money.
Oh yeah, and plastic surgery, doctors, and what's that thing called that you inject stuff in your face?
Botox.
Like, do you
I need
remember
some
when
of
when Terminator, not the Terminator, but like Rambo came out? I was like, his face like it's moving. You're like, the guy's had Botox. But yeah, that was my week in a nutshell, and a little bit more.
Shout out Rambo Last Blood for being up for the Razzie for Worst Picture of the Year.
Oh, is it? Oh no! I need to look at what those nominations are.
I don't remember all of them.
I never saw the new Rambo, but I can imagine that.
Rambo Last Blood is there. They've got Cats on there, and then a few others.
Cats
which
should just
I don't
automatically win.
remember.
It's the worst film of all time.
Did you see it?
No.
Oh, I was like,
I
oh
res-
man, I need some. I don't know
tons of-
anybody who has.
I respect myself more. And so if anyone who's listening is listening, I'm sorry, but I just why? What have you done to yourself to get to this point?
No, because it makes me so sad. Because like I really do wish that it was good. Because if you ever seen Cats the musical or listened to the soundtrack, it's great. Like it really is good. So it made me sad that the movie was a hot mess.
That's how I feel about it.
Rip Cats.
Rip Cats. Aristocats is a great film.
Hey.
Find it on Disney Plus. But let's get into
Disney
our
Plus, pay us money.
Yeah, Disney Plus ad.
Let's get into the movie.
Not
Sorry,
sorry.
James Corden.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about the movie. What movie are we actually talking about today?
Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey.
And the
Fantabulous Emancipation
Of Harley Quinn.
of one Harley Quinn.
Yes,
Is
of
that
one.
what it is?
I think it's of one
Of
Harley
one
Quinn.
Harley Quinn.
the long freaking name.
Birds of Prey.
That's one of the biggest, like, not one of the biggest, but that's one of the critiques of it, is that it has such a long name, and then it's just mostly known as Birds of Prey, when that's not a particularly huge part of the movie.
But after seeing it, I kind of understand why it's
I
named that
get
way.
it, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yo, okay, so can we hit the spoilers button so I can say something?
Spoilers!
Go see it if you haven't. Like, if for some reason you're listening to this and not seeing it, it's a good movie. You'll like it.
Yeah, it's
But
great. Go see it.
spoilers for this point on. So it's like called Birds of Prey and then that whole other thing. So basically it's just known as Birds of Prey. Tell me, am I wrong in like saying at the end Harley Quinn isn't actually like one of the birds of prey? Like,
No,
it's
she's
those
not.
other three chicks.
That was what I was kind of like. It's called Birds of Prey, but I'm glad they have like the little like add-on to it. It's it's very Harley Quinn to have that long ass title. Sorry, to have that
fine.
long title.
You already said ass one time today. So.
I just know that
fine.
Casey has to bleep a certain amount out, and I just don't want to make his job
I
harder.
think we've kind of given up on that.
Yeah.
Just don't.
we just
drop
don't want to
a-
have to
the
mark
big
it
words.
as explicit.
Don't drop the fart word,
The stupid word.
stupid word, the butthole word. No, I'm just kidding. But
all those really bad ones.
those dangerous words your mother wouldn't approve of.
My mom doesn't approve of crap.
That was like my thing though, is like this movie, like for me, I was like, why is it called Birds of Prey? Because we're not even getting into it. We're talking like Harley's telling this story the whole time, and they're just building up this little troop who has like their 15 minutes of fame at the end of this movie. That's like the whole movie is named after 15 minutes of this movie, if 15 minutes at all counts as towards it.
Which this is why I'm like, oh, now I understand why it has that tag of the Harley Quinn thing, because this isn't a Harley Quinn joins the Birds of Prey. This is the Birds of Prey team. You know, by the end we have the team, and then Harley Quinn is there with us, emancipating herself. You know,
Kind of
So,
like an
it makes
origin
sense.
story.
And there's a rumor going on around right now that is I have no idea how true it is, but they're talking about there's a possible trilogy that they're setting up with the Harley Quinn universe if this movie is successful, where she joins the Birds of Prey in this one, and then the next one she joins the Gotham City Sirens, which is basically the bad version of the Birds of Prey. Like Birds of Prey is Huntress, Black Canary, and Renee, right? Montoya, and then the Gotham City Sirens would be Poison Ivy and Catwoman and whoever else. So that'd be the next one is, you know, the Gotham City Sirens and Harley Quinn, and then the third one would be Birds of Prey versus Gotham City Sirens, where they all come together for a thing. So that's a rumor going on. Who knows if it's an actual thing? She's kind of the backbone of everything.
Well, for right now, isn't like the next thing for Harley Quinn's character? Don't they have
Suicide Squad.
like Suicide Squad coming up in 2021?
Or, sorry, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad, because it's different from.
The
Suicide
crap
Squad.
one? Oh, sorry.
You can say it. The crap
The
one.
crap one. I was going to
Which
say something about.
weirdly plays a big role in this. I didn't think that they would. I thought they were going to kind of forget about
Everything.
Suicide Squad, and
Pretend
they
it
referenced
didn't exist.
Yeah, but they referenced it a lot in this.
What's his name? Like Courtney Jai or Jai Courtney or
Jai
whatever.
Courtney?
I like how they're just like, hey, I know him.
The one role I've actually liked Jai Courtney in, Boomerang. He was so good as that guy. All right, well, let's jump right into the information of the movie. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I remember what I was
go
going to say. Tag this on to like what he was saying about like the movies. But a bunch of people really, really, really want a Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy movie, which I would love as well. So I feel like I'm interested to see how they kind of do it, because this movie hasn't done as well in the first weekend that they've wanted it to so far.
Well, it came out like what, yesterday?
Yeah, but it's lower than it was expected to be, even for a rated R movie.
So,
But I'm interested to see. But people really, 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 really want that Poison Ivy Harley Quinn movie. So I think it'll happen.
So to like interject into that thought, who would you want to see as Poison Ivy?
I don't know the comic books well enough to really say.
What's her name? The one who you kind of look like? I just forgot her name all of a sudden. Amy Adams.
Oh, no. She's too old.
I don't think so. I don't know if anyone else saw it. There was a trailer in the movie theater today for like a horror film starring Amy Adams as an agoraphobic.
It's like a play on that. Oh shoot! What is the old one where he breaks his leg and he's watching people out his back window?
Oh,
With a telescope.
The Hitchcock
the
one.
Hitchcock one.
Yeah.
Yes. Rear Window.
Rear Window. It's like a play. It's like a modern play on Rear Window.
Oh,
So
That's
it's,
pretty cool.
it's a woman in the window. So I saw her in
Interesting.
that, and it looked interesting. But
Yeah.
In terms of people that people have told me I look like, Emma Stone. I feel
Emma
like
Stone
could do
would be
Poison
Ooh,
Ivy.
But she was in a Spider-Man.
But I have
movie.
a crush
I
on
would
her, so.
Love that. I would love it.
Vince likes
Make it
Emma
happen.
Stone.
And
DC, make it happen.
she was in a
her.
Spider-Man movie. That doesn't mean you can't jump sides like forever later.
Hello, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, they've all done it.
That's true. Yeah, I
I
could
can
go
go.
for that. You get 2 thumbs from me for Emma Stone in
Yeah,
there.
make that happen.
Hey.
Okay, so this movie was directed by Kathy Yan. Is that how you say her last name? Is it Yan or Yan? I think it's Yan.
I'm pretty sure it's Kathy Yon.
Directed by Kathy Yan, written by Christina Hodson, released February 7th, 2020, which is yesterday. We saw it. Or it came out, we saw it. We all saw it today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Budget was $84.5 million, which you brought that up a second ago. I'm going to want to talk about that a little bit more on how it's doing so far. And that's going to be our topic 1, if that's cool with you guys.
Of course.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes has given it a critic score of 81% and an audience score of 84%.
Whoa, it's dropped a lot. When it first came out, it was at like 93.
That's a bummer. But surprising, critics and audience actually agreeing on something.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen.
No.
Rarely.
IMDb gave it has given it so far a 6.8. The movie is starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Rosie Perez as Renee Montoya, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, Journey Smollett-Bell as Black Canary, Ella J. Bosco as Cassandra Cain, Ewan McGregor as Black Mask or Roman Sionis, and Chris Messina as Victor Zsasz. And then I just also wanted to give a shout out to Ali Wong because I love her, and I was so surprised to see her in this. Her stand-up comedy on Netflix, her comedy special was so funny. Casting considerations. I have a lot. We'll just run through them fast. Starting with Black Mask, Roman Sionis. They considered Sharlto Copley, the guy from District 9.
Oh, that guy?
Mm-hmm.
He would have been so good.
I could see him in it too.
Yeah.
But they also offered it to Sam Rockwell, and he was considered the archetype for the role. That's who they wanted, and he turned it down. And so then
Sam
they got-
Rockwell?
Yep.
I don't know if I would have been down for that.
Do you think they were planning on? Yeah, they had to have been planning on making him gay for the movie from the get-go, right?
So here's the thing.
That wasn't like a choice that Ewan McGregor made?
I don't think so.
I'd assume that was planned.
So like Sam Rockwell is like, I don't know if I could watch this because I would be thinking that he was going to turn out to be like a good guy in the end. You know what I
He's
mean?
too much a good guy.
Like,
For it. He's the
not-
bad guy in
not-
Iron Man 2.
Not because he's like a good guy, but because recently he's been known to play the roles where he starts out as a bad guy but actually ends up being a good guy, i.e. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri and Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. Well, those were the considerations for Black Mask. Huntress, there was a lot, and there were a lot of people that I didn't recognize, so I put the kind of shows that they were on. So I'll just roll through these real fast. Kristen Milioti, she was in Star Trek, and she was in the Star Trek episode of Black Mirror. Remember that one where
where
she, like, goes in- she's the main
mother
character.
from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, that's her too.
Spoilers for How I Met Your Mother.
Margaret, I'm going to tear up all these names. I'm sorry. Margaret Qualley, she was the hippie in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Hey.
Sophia Boutella, she was the mummy in the Mummy reboot. Alexandra Daddario, and she was in those Peter Jackson movies and Baywatch, and she was in New Girl and It's Sunny in Philadelphia. She was the roommate that moved in across the hall in New Girl, who they were all like fighting over, and Winston's like moving all of their stuff. And she was really pretty. I don't know. Maybe you guys know that one. That's what I knew her from. Well, I knew her from Sunny, but also from...
I haven't seen all of New Girl, so...
Okay. And then Black Canary.
Who is she, New Girl?
Remember the episode where the 3 pretty girls move in across the hall and Coach and
Yes.
they're all like
Which one is
fighting
she?
for her? She's the one with the big eyes.
Oh, that one. She's in.
Maybe there's 2 roommates.
She's in something else. She looks like a Disney princess.
Yeah, she's really pretty. She, for Sunny fans, she's the rich girl that falls in love with Charlie. Black Canary. I'm sorry, this is gonna be a bad one. Gugu Mbatha-Raw, I think was her name. She was in Concussion and Beauty and the Beast. Janelle Monáe, she was in Moonlight. Vanessa Kirby, Hobbs and Shaw. Jodie Corner, Killing Eve, it's a TV show. And Blake Lively was also considered as Black Canary.
Is Vanessa Kirby the main girl in Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah, the one that fights the Rock.
Blake Lively could be. She should go for the. We were just talking about
Poison Ivy?
Poison Ivy.
No.
No? I
No.
can see that.
I can see it. Based off
I
of what
like
I've seen in
Blake
the
Lively.
comics.
I think she's gorgeous. But
But no.
definitely not for Black Canary.
Yeah,
That makes zero sense.
well,
to
she's
me.
white in the comics, if that makes any difference.
No, it's not really the race thing. It's
Okay.
just the Blake Lively thing. Like I said, I love her.
I get that.
I love her. I love her. I love her so much, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I get that. Cassandra Cain, Peyton Elizabeth Lee was considered, who plays Violet in the show Scandal.
I'm trying to think of who that is.
Dang it. So all this anticipation was for nothing.
I mean, if she's only in like a couple of...
Well, and so I thought when you said you had like a scandal like reference, I thought it was going to be something that actually ended up in the movie, and I was
That
like,
was
oh
the
man,
one
they
little
missed
connection.
it. I'm
So, yeah.
disappointed that you did not know that this character was almost cast in this
Yeah,
movie
come on.
that is in Scandal. Come on,
Hang on,
guys.
I'm looking at her
I don't
now.
know who that is either.
Dang it. Okay, well, sorry.
Oh, I don't think
Wah,
that she
wah.
has been in what you've seen yet, Case.
Oh.
And then the last one, Victor Zaz, they were considering John Leguizamo for him, which I think would have been cool. He's much older than who they cast, though, I'm pretty sure.
Who was it that they cast? Because he like looked like a skinny younger version of Mark Ruffalo. Ruffalo?
Ruffalo.
I think I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen him in anything
His
else.
like
I don't know.
face was just very familiar to me, and I was like, that's who he looks like. But I knew obviously that it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Last 2 things, they offered a lead role to Lady Gaga, who turned it down. And they also had Barbara Gordon written into the original script, and they wanted Kristen Stewart to play her, and then they wrote Barbara Gordon out, so she didn't show up in it.
Okay, wait. So, like, they gave Lady Gaga the opportunity to have the role after like Suicide Squad happened, like almost like they were gonna like revamp the whole Harley Quinn thing.
No, I think they just went to her and they said, "Hey, we're making a Birds of Prey movie. Which
her
character do you
leading
want to
role.
play?"
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sure.
So I thought you
With
meant like
Margot
as like
Robbie.
Harley Quinn. I was
No.
like, what?
They just went to her and they're like, "You're Oscar nominated."
nominated.
Okay,
Nominated.
I couldn't remember she won. You're an Oscar nominated actress. Do you want to come be in this with Margot? And then she turned it down. So that's it. That's all for casting considerations. Now I want to get into my first topic of the
Money.
night. Money. This is an R-rated DC EU movie. The first one other than Joker. The first one in the extended universe. It cost, what did I say, 81 million or something like that?
84 and a half.
$84.5 million to
84.5.
make. And so far, according to IMDb, it has only made $33.8 million in the first 2 days.
It's been out for 2 days.
They were projecting that it would make $50 million this weekend.
It might hit 50 million, but it'd have to have a big day today and Sunday. I
But
don't
this
think
is
it's
the
going to
weekend.
make it.
This is the weekend.
It
though.
still has tonight and tomorrow, right?
And everyone's recovering from their Super Bowl losses and prepping up for the Oscars.
Don't gotta hit
don't
me hard like
I was
that.
gonna say,
man.
don't bring up the Super Bowl. Come on.
Nobody
Come
got
on.
time to go see this movie. No, I'm kidding. I can't make excuses. I don't know.
So before we get into the movie, my question was, it is a rated R Harley Quinn movie. Do you think that this would be doing better if they made it PG-13 and opened it up to a younger audience? And if so, do you think that they should have done that for the financial reason and made more money? Or do you think that cinematically, stick to the vision that you want, go with the movie you want to make?
I don't feel like there would have been too many changes to make it PG-13. I feel like it would have just been a little bit less graphic in terms of some of the violence.
I feel like they wouldn't have that dude cut off that other guy's face, and that's like what
Yes.
they would have done.
Or they would have just like shown it from a different kind of, like, they wouldn't have had him carrying the face around. They also probably would have been less graphic with like some of the blood and the knees,
The broken bones.
Yes, like I don't think it would have taken that much to take it down, but maybe they looked at it and were just like, no, like, this is what we want to do. And like, if that's what your creative vision is, then like, good on you. But I don't think it would have taken much to make it PG-13, and I think it would have benefited
They did
them.
say the F word a lot.
Oh, I guess she did say the F word a lot. I just forget about that because I say the F word constantly. My whole life is rated R.
My whole life is the F word.
So Margot Robbie, she has a couple of quotes that I found from her. One of them, she says, "I think there's a perception that a PG female-related action film is kind of considered a chick flick. And that's a big reason why they went with the R rating." And she also said that she produced this film. Like, her production company, she put a ton of money into this. She had a ton of creative control over it. She actually pitched the idea for this kind of movie during Suicide Squad, because she said she was a really big fan of, like, the old... what's the old TV show with the three girls? They just did a reboot of it.
Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, she was a big fan of the old Charlie's Angels with, like, Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu... And there's something about Cameron Diaz. I think those are the three, right?
Yes.
She said she's a huge fan of those movies, and she's like, we haven't seen those in so long, and I want to do this in the superhero genre. I want to make one of these female-led action movies. But she said that Harley Quinn, in order to stay true to that character, she didn't want to have to pull the reins in, hold her back in any way. She just wanted to be free to do whatever she wanted. And so with all the creative control, it was basically down to her to be like, we're going to do this rated R. And I'm sure WB had some say into it, though. Saw the success of Deadpool, which we all have to admit, right?
True.
This is kind of DC's reaction to Deadpool's success as the rated R comedy in the superhero genre, even down to the kind of the self-narration of the story. Yeah. They saw a ton of success. They probably saw some success options. So I don't know. Does that change your ideas? Like, do you support like her decision, even if this fails and we quote unquote fails and we don't get a sequel to it, or would you have rather of them changed it to a PG-13 movie and had more success, assuming that it would have been more success?
Here's my thought on it, especially because this is like, you never want to hold someone back from their creativity and their ability to showcase a story in the way they want, right? But at the same time, like, what DC is doing is they're battling uphill to get their movies out, to get their movies seen, and if they create flops, the DC universe is going to end for a time period, and then someone else is going to revive it in 5 years, and we're just going to be like, we've already watched this. And I hate to say it like that, but at the same time, I'm grateful they did the R rating, and I'm grateful that they went for it, because, yeah, this show was badass.
It's
like,
good, right?
There is so much goodness in this movie, and it like highlights a lot of like very, important things. We were kind of talking about this on the way home. Like, they talked about someone who's like picking themselves up after like a toxic relationship and kind of just going for it. I like the self-narration in this one and the raw like sharing that it was. It's like, wait, hold on, like there's ADHD moments which I can relate to, but also there's just like, here's this sad thing that really happened to me, and then here's how I'm recovering from it, and it's kind of really cool. But the action sequences in this I thought they were really cool. They were well thought out. I love when they're in kind of the fun house at the end, like where the actual birds of prey like kind of are born. But yeah, I don't know, like if they opened it up to PG-13, it probably would have been I'm like saying this now and someone's gonna call me out in 6 months when it is $1 billion movie, but
hopefully
I don't think this is going to be $1 billion movie. I think this is going to be about a $500 million movie, and they're going to wish that they'd done better. That's how I feel. And so if they'd put it at PG-13, probably would have been $1 billion movie.
But you're happy that they didn't? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. Like, I loved this movie. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and I wouldn't change anything about it for me. I just hope that it does well enough that we get more of it. You know what I mean?
I think it just shows that I think that there is something that happens when the actors kind of end up having to like hold back a little bit because of the rating, and because of some of like the cuts they end up having to do. And so I think that could really affect the movie. So I agree. I think I'm glad that it is an R-rated movie, because I do feel like there were parts that could have felt really kind of stilted and a little bit strained because of that rating restriction. But yeah, I really hope that it doesn't end up, making it so that we don't get that Harley Quinn Poison Ivy movie that I would love to see, because of that issue.
The nervous money people.
Well,
yes.
Well, and also, if they had decided to make it a PG-13, they could have done some really creative cuts to make it just have the same message, get the same message across, you know, and they do that with movies. But this one's showing more of the graphicness and the reality of it. I couldn't ask for a better way to have done this movie. There were some times where I felt like it was a little bit long in the beginning. But other than that, like, I thought it was perfect.
I liked it too. Sorry, I had to like lead the suspense a little bit because for the last little while we've done some movies and you guys are like, I love it, and I've been like, I don't know. Like when we did Blade Runner, but no, yeah, I really did love it as well. I'm not gonna lie. When I very first saw the trailer for this movie, I like rolled my eyes like hardcore. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just gonna be. And don't get me wrong, like I love Margot Robbie and everything, but I saw it and I had seen Suicide Squad and I liked Suicide Squad, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is just gonna be like, you know, like extension of that, like just over the top, like ditziness and like all this other things like that. But this movie is, like you guys said, so much fun. They really put a lot of, as weird as it is, like they put a lot of like thought into this movie, and like the way that the story plays out and why it's happening like relates directly into what was going on in the universe. And they look, it's not like a huge like character study movie, obviously, like the Joker is, but they do look more into who Harley Quinn is, why she is the way that she is, and it's really, really well put together. So definitely like a recommend for me as well. And I just loved a ton of things about this movie.
Can I bring up too that Harley Quinn is freaking smart? Like, that's not something.
She's got a PhD.
Yeah, she's got a PhD, you know, and she just kind of like goes into these moments where they're having like kind of like it's a humorous, funny moment, or it's like they're being a little sarcastic. And she's like, no, that's a problem, you know, like your mind is thinking like this, and you should be doing this, and she kind of just like goes off from it. And she's like, whoop, back to Harley Quinn.
It goes back to being like her ADD self, getting distracted by something shiny.
Yep, exactly. Oh, a penny, you know, stuff like that is what's fun about this movie.
Can I say that there has never been any movie that has existed in the history of world that has made me want a breakfast sandwich more than this movie?
I have that in my notes too. I'm like, that is one of the best looking breakfast sandwiches I've ever seen.
And just the whole description of it, the entire scene of her, of the guy making it and her just falling in love with it. I was like, that looks so good, especially since I went and saw it at like 11:30 in the morning.
It reminded me of a sandwich at a restaurant we really like, but the other thing it reminded me of is when we went to the Philippines, and there's this like burger shack that they have everywhere.
It's called Frank's.
It's called Frank's, and it reminded me of their burgers because they put like eggs on them and banana ketchup, which is a lot sweeter than regular ketchup. And it just reminded me of that. And then I was like, I want that so bad. And there's absolutely no way I can get it anywhere in the States. And I was really sad about it because it's just like, totally does not meet the health codes it probably should.
Which probably makes it better.
It does, and I'm not dead, and neither are you, and we ate there a lot. We
And
were
I
there
ate
for
there
2
like
weeks.
3,000 times.
And it was on the one in the movie, sorry, it was on like ciabatta bread. And I was like, oh gosh.
Just drooling.
I'm so glad that like she got her sandwich at the
sandwich.
end of the movie, because I was like so like unsatisfying at the beginning when she lost, and I was like, no.
Yeah, let's
I
start-
felt what she felt when she lost that sandwich.
Yeah, let's start with. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and you guys know me and how much I love Anthony Bourdain and the way he describes everything. She won. Like St. Anthony, I am so sorry wherever you are. Harley Quinn just out-described you in food. And it was like, I was salivating in the theater. I leaned over to her, I was like, I just want a sandwich.
Even after she was talking about maybe it's the Armenian arm hair, and I'm like, I still want the sandwich.
Yes. 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 Harley Quinn, she gets a Webley or whatever that is for describing a sandwich. My vote is in.
Well, let's start out with Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn. Like even in that moment when she loses her sandwich and she falls on the ground and she's watching it fall apart, and it shows that close up on Margot Robbie, and she's got a tear rolling down her face because the one thing that she wants and loves so much that's holding her together, this sandwich, is falling to the ground and being destroyed after this big momentous life change of breaking up with the Joker.
I think it speaks to a lot of experiences that people can relate to, where it's not really about the sandwich. It's about everything else and how your life is just kind of a crap show. And then you just lose this thing that you want so bad. And you're like, well, damn it to hell. Like everything is horrible. My life is ruined. And it's not really about the sandwich. It's about so much more.
Well, and this sounds really silly, but I love to eat food at IKEA. And I like to go eat one specific like cake at IKEA when I get really stressed. I will just leave work, drive over there, and eat this cake. There have been multiple times where that cake has not been available. And I have had near meltdowns in the IKEA cafeteria because I'm like, I am stressed. I need this chocolate cake, and it is not here. And I'll ask people, I'm like, do you guys have this? Oh, not today, but we have this blueberry cake. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. And so, like, I can relate, and I think everyone can relate that this experience of, like, this is a comfort food. This is beauty. This will make it right. It's like a Band-Aid, essentially, for your feelings. It's just like, this feels great. And then, like, it was literally ripped off, spit on, torn apart, and she's just watching it, like, everything go. And then, like, what the heck? Nothing could fix that moment, except all the things she did following it.
That's true. She did do a lot of stuff afterwards. Do you have anything else about the sandwich, or can I ask a question?
No, go. I was.
What did you guys think about the nonlinear storytelling at times?
I feel like it made the beginning feel long.
See, I actually really loved the beginning because of it. But I did find myself getting confused at certain points, and then she would call it out and, like, rewind the story.
Which I did like. I just felt like there was a few parts at the beginning that just felt a little bit long. But then I was glad that she went back and explained it. And so, like, mixed feelings.
And see, I'm, like, a big fan a lot of times of nonlinear storytelling. It can be, like, very cool in the way that it explains things and can, like, do, like, something different. Like, if you guys have ever seen Memento, like, that's, like, the master of all nonlinear storytelling movies. But this one, at times I liked it because it did explain it. But other times, like Ali said, it did make it feel kind of long. And, like, I understood, like, what Casey said. It was sort of cool that you could see sort of a little bit more about Harley Quinn, which she's like has like ADHD, and she's like, oh wait, like crap, like I forgot this or something like that. But it also just like even though it introduced you to something new, it felt like the story kind of like stopped progressing. It's like you were like, cool, I like where this is going, like this is fun, this is cool, oh, we're going back, like, and even though it's like for something
Hold
good.
on, could you repeat that? That's how it felt, right? It's like an interjection almost, right? I'm sorry.
No, exactly.
I want to prove a point.
It's like I'm going forward with this. I'm going forward, like going back to it, and then getting caught up. We did get like a little piece of Harley Quinn in there and stuff like that, but there were times where it was a little bit like strenuous, and I didn't like it.
See, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I felt like it fit with her character, but I do feel like it was kind of weird that it kind of stopped off. Like it didn't continue throughout the movie, which kind of made sense because then it got to the point where it was like, no, this is where we are and we're staying where we are. But just it wasn't consistent.
And they were long. I'm all for like a lot of times when you do something like that, like I forgot something, like throw a quick flashback in there. But it was like, crap, I forgot something. Here's 12 minutes.
See, I liked it because I really liked it because I've seen the movie you guys are describing 2 other times that I can think off the top of my head. Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's about a movie where a group of people that shouldn't be friends get together and become friends. This one wasn't about the team becoming best friends and learning from each other and working together in the end, you know? This one was about a group of people who had one connection, who came together because of this poor situation they were all stuck in. You know, Harley breaks up with the Joker. She's made a lot of enemies, and you go through the movie and you see all these enemies that she's made, and she's trying to just like survive at this point, and she has to get. And Roman's the one who wants her dead. You know, you got Black Canary, who's basically Black Mask's toy. You know, he sees her as his possession, and then you have Cassandra Cain, who gets involved with it, and sorry, I'm spacing off the top of my head, or Renee Montoya. They all have this one connection, Huntress, and that's Black Mask. And it's not them being forced into this situation and becoming friends. It's focused each one on what their backstory is, and you get a big chunk of information on their backstory and why they're all going to end up in this one spot at the end and being forced to work together, even though they don't really know each other. Like a couple of them know each other, but not really. And like in Suicide Squad, the most that we got of the backstory of half the people was a flash on the screen that was there and then gone quicker than you could even read the stuff that was on the screen, you know? And you don't feel any connection to these people except for maybe Will Smith and Margot Robbie, Deadshot and Harley Quinn. On this one, I felt like I knew every one of the characters. I would have liked a little bit more from specific characters. Huntress, I don't think she was in it very much, but what I've got, I really liked her, and I look forward to seeing more about her. And I feel like with this structure of the movie, it changed kind of what we've seen before, switched the focus around a little bit, and just ended up in a big, fun, colorful fight at the end.
I felt like it was a fireworks show. Is how I felt like this movie was. It's because if you ever go like to a 4th of July and like somewhere, right, they'll launch big fireworks from it, then they'll do some small ones that kind of spray out, and then you're like, oh, here we go, and then big ones, and everyone's bouncing around and joyous, and slow it down. Then you got the finale, which is what we experienced. I feel like in this movie was it took a while to get there, but boy, it was loud, it was bright, and it was beautiful. Like the colors were everything in this, and when I'm talking about colors, it's the characters, like the design, like the action scenes. It all came together and just meshed so well. So I like, for me, like that's how my brain works every day. So it like kind of felt pretty normal, but I was like, man, I'm listening to myself and I'm boring myself in a way. But then I was like, but this is interesting. Ooh, I'm being taken over here. Now I'm over here, and it worked out for me.
You know why I think you like this movie?
Why?
8711, the action design company founded by John Wick director Chad Stahelski, came on board to help beef up the action sequences on a second unit director during reshoots.
Thank you, John Wick Company. I love John Wick. John Wick!
So
that makes sense.
a lot of what Casey said, like how it's like the crazy like fireworks and it's all changing. I feel like the movie itself, even though it's about all of these characters coming together, the movie itself is sort of like the epitome, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like, of Harley Quinn. Like the movie like itself feels like Harley Quinn with the way that it jumps around and the way that it's like really smartly put, but it's also ditzy at times and like a ton of things. It just feels like Harley Quinn. But I like that each of the characters like also like got their moments, because even though like you guys, I would have liked more of Huntress, whenever it was like to her, it was just like super awkward. It's like, oh yep, we're doing this now, like, or the crossbow killer, I am Huntress.
Her
Like,
standing in front of the mirror every time and being like, I am Huntress,
do
and
you-
never
do
getting the
you know
opportunity to
who I
say it.
am. Like,
Just trying.
it was so funny, and all of the characters had their thing, but the movie itself was what everyone wanted to see, was Harley Quinn like doing her thing.
So
being
I'm
herself.
assuming that all of us agree that Harley stole the show on this, right?
Of course.
So what were some of your favorite scenes in the movie?
When she's breaking her out of jail, like the prison.
The water scene was so cool.
The water scene was amazing. I loved the where they shooting up the cocaine pile, and she like and then she like finds the bat, right, and she just kind of does all like
She chooses the bat between, like, she sees a chainsaw and like a bunch of just like way more effective tools for killing, and then she still chooses the bat
She's
because
like,
she's
this
freaking
is
Harley
what
Quinn.
I know.
Yeah. It's like, this is what I know, this is what I'm good at.
She's probably like, I used this to stop an alien invasion in Suicide Squad, so apparently it's pretty
It's effective.
It's an effective bat.
And she uses it in some really cool ways. Like, you can tell that Chad Stahelski knows what he's doing. I mean, we've seen 3 John Wick movies, and then he shows up in some of the coolest action scenes to date in some of the DC stuff.
I feel like
it's not like, it doesn't have the over-the-top CGI effects of Wonder Woman or Batman v Superman. It's very grounded and realistic and believable.
One of the stunts,
But at the same time, over the
like
top.
for the part, was like someone was like holding her from behind, and she just like hit the person and then like put the bat like right in front of her and twisted it just to
Yeah.
like get the dude's arms off her. And even though that's so simple, it's like, hey, that's just like a really real version of like what would happen. But she used it in like such a like normal and like super fast way that I was like, even though that was just like getting his like hands like off of her so that she could hit him, it was like, I loved it, even though it was crazy simple.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What about you, Josh? What about you?
So definitely like the whole like final scene was really good. Like so much good action, so many amazing stunts, and it was all just perfect. The scene with the car and everything with her on the rollerblades, I really liked all of that. Thinking about it though, that scene like with the water in the prison was really awesome. I don't know. There was just like the whole movie, I was just like really enthralled, like with like how fun it was. I don't know if there was like so much stuff that like jumped out to me, like as far as like, hey, like this is the best scene in the movie or this is, but just the whole time I was entertained. I was having fun like the whole time. Like they kept me going. It was super fun, super chill. I loved it.
I had a few favorites. I loved everything with Harley dealing with the breakup, seeing how she copes with it, going from, we broke up. I'm not going to tell anybody about it, but I'm going to go party. I'm going to get wasted. I'm going to do whatever, get drunk. What does she do? She gets drunk, or she cuts off her hair first off because she needs to like separate herself or whatever. She gets drunk. She goes to the club. She parties, and then she decides to blow up Ace Chemicals. Like the whole just beginning of seeing her deal with this rejection is just so great. And then the sandwich stuff, the police station fight with the cocaine you guys went over, I think is so cool. But honestly, the more I think about it, I think Black Mask is really what stands out to me, this version of Black Mask. Maybe we need, because it's kind of going a little over, but maybe we need to do an episode on the origins of Harley Quinn and Black Mask and the changes that they made to Black Mask, because he's a completely different character than what he was in the character or in the comic books. I don't know a lot about him, but we could go over that a little bit.
I would love to learn more.
But I think that what they did with him was so cool, seeing just the menace that Ewan McGregor plays in him, going from this normal guy who's just like happy to show off his collection, you can tell he's like this spoiled brat of a person and so happy. As long as he's happy, he's like a cool person to be. And then just watching the progression of anger that he has when something doesn't go his way or he feels rejected or something like that. I just think everything that Ewan McGregor did was so cool to me and so interesting and unique and something we haven't seen in a superhero movie.
Thank you, Ewan McGregor, for being able to play white trash as well as you do.
Well, how have we not talked about Harley's hyena yet?
Ooh.
And Bruce.
And Bruce. Yes, the beaver.
And there's Bruce.
But, like, I just want to point out, like, I thought that was also a pretty cool thing that, like, she found her own place and it was above the Chinese restaurant. She always gets, like a number 32 with extra chili or whatever. But, like, that was fun. Like, it's kind of cool to, like, just see.
She and the little girl ate an abnormally small amount of cereal.
The tiniest amount of cereal. It bothered me so much.
I was like, barely put a splash in the bowl.
She was like, and I was like, okay, that's like 2 bites. That's not gonna get you to freaking poop. Okay, whatever.
That's my wife, everyone.
It's true though. Like that's what I wasn't thinking about the poop part as much, but like literally I just watched that and I'm like, what just happened? You got a full-size bowl, you have like a new thing of cereal, and you
got some serious cereal problems going on. Yeah, I think that was your biggest problem in Get Out too, was the way she ate her cereal too, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the Bing? It was using the Bing. That's what it was. But the cereal
No,
one at a time was a thing.
he talked about the cereal and the way she ate it like a psychopath, and then how she used
Oh
Bing
yes,
as
because
well.
she eats it dry and then she drinks the milk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you crazy if you do that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that eating cereal dry is dumb. Like, sorry, Scott, our little brother. It's dumb. Don't do it. But, like, eating cereal dry and then, like, drinking the milk, like, ugh.
This is like eating,
It is something
putting
I
an
could
Oreo in your
see-
mouth and drinking it afterwards. It doesn't work that well.
It is something I could see my wife doing, because my wife always gets mad at me because, like, I let cereal get, like, too soggy, because, like, sometimes I'll let it sit for, like, long. Like, if I, like, end up, like, having to do, I don't let it just, like, get, like, super, I leave it, like, for an hour or something. I don't do that.
Okay. I was like, what the hell, John?
I
You are a
don't do that.
heathen.
But, like, I don't, like, mind if I'm, like, starting to eat my cereal and then she calls me to do something, I can come back and eat it. For her, like, she can't do that. Like, if she starts eating cereal and then she leaves and she comes back and it's a bit soggy, it's, like, already, like, too far gone.
I prioritize cereal eating. But we're getting off topic here a little bit. But what did you guys think about the soundtrack of this that was playing throughout the film? Like,
Fire!
I loved the soundtrack on this.
I have it added, downloaded. I have it. I love it. Give me all
We listened to
female
it 3 times before you guys
soundtracks
showed up.
and
too.
albums forever. I loved it. Halsey, all of it.
Yeah.
I loved the whole thing.
This, you can tell this is kind of what they wanted Suicide Squad to be. The colorful neon stuff, the banging soundtrack, down to the way that they introduce characters with the pop-up, when Harley sees someone that she's wronged, it pops up and it kind of says their name and what they did wrong to them. Like, they tried to do all of that stuff in Suicide Squad and failed miserably. And in this one, they just perfected every single
Nailed
part
it.
of it.
And not only was the music in this movie, the score was not just beautiful, but it fit the tone so perfectly. Where we've talked about how this movie is so much of just like being Harley Quinn, I almost feel like this movie could be like, since she's narrating it, it could be like Harley Quinn made like a little like slideshow or like home movie of like her past experiences. And so this is just like her Spotify that she just like plugged into the movie to be like, hey, like here, this is what we're gonna listen to while we watch me be a badass.
I agree. I'm with you.
It was fine. What was your favorite part about the soundtrack, Casey? Like, what did it do for you that made you love it so much?
Well, it set the pace for the movie, and it actually like reinforced like what was going on behind it. I just like, I didn't feel like any song was out of place, because there are sometimes you're watching a movie, right, and you're like, why did they pick this?
Well, like, even the weird, like, diamonds are a girl's best friend sequence, like, it was weird, but I still feel like it fit Harley Quinn. Also, I was living for the remake version of the Marilyn dress, and they made it into, like, a pantsuit, like, jumper. I was like... I was dying. Anyway, I hardcore noticed it because I love Marilyn Monroe, and I love that they made it into, like, a jumpsuit.
She
Like,
loves wearing onesies.
I gotta
That's
ask,
a jumper, sorry.
what did you think of Huntress's like tracksuit?
oh my gosh.
'Cause it
I
was a
want it.
tracksuit, right?
I want it. I want to buy it. Like, I want to go find it and wear it.
That was the only one out of all the costuming where I was just like, I don't know about that
No,
tracksuit.
I want to wear it. I want to buy it. I want to own it in my wardrobe.
It reminds me of like a beginner superhero, like the Spider-Man, the old Spider-Man movies where he's trying to figure out what his costume's supposed to look like.
But
that's
she
kind of what I
is,
felt like.
That's one
though.
thing I feel like it fits Huntress so well.
It's gonna
though.
progress to something.
Well, because even at the end when it's showing like this is the birds of prey and it shows like her like trying to do her thing, she has like this super tacky like goggles
Yeah,
on
exactly.
her face and stuff.
Like, ooh,
So I
don't
feel
know
like
about that.
even though it is like sort of like weird, it's like
endearing.
it fits her.
It
It's
fits
like,
the-
aw, she tried so hard to like be this badass. Like, look how cute.
There was another quote that I found about the costuming that they said that everything that they made was made for specifically for the characters, but the people who built them for flexibility and for the action scenes, basically. You know, so if you notice like certain like Harley's, I can't remember which one exactly, but I noticed that on the side there's like a stretchy band that went from her top to like something under her, maybe it was her pants or something, that you could tell that was used so she could still do those crazy kicks and stuff, but pull off
Her
the
like
look
her like little
perfectly.
like suspender suit type
Yeah, I
thing,
think it was
like
that
when
one.
she's doing the roller stuff.
Well, and then when I can't remember who it was that like complimented Black Canary, that was like, I'm impressed with how you did those high kicks in those tight pants. And I was like, those are clearly very nice, comfortable, stretchy pants. Like, they're definitely not like
Jeggings.
actual leather. Like,
Oh yeah, I think it was Huntress because it was at the end when they were getting tacos and everyone was like, "Oh, you did this cool, you did this cool," and she's like trying to fit in. She's like, "I was impressed how you did those high kicks in your tight pants."
yes, I love Huntress. She's just so cute and awkward.
This could have been Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. That could have been a way better title.
Which it kind of was, just in a long-winded version, right?
Yeah, how about this, DC Universe? Pay me for a better title. I'll write your copy for you.
I still stand by that. I think that the title fits Harley Quinn, though.
Yeah.
I stand by that.
Okay.
What if the title then was "The Emancipation of One Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey"?
I mean,
Then it sounds like the Birds of Prey are emancipated, which doesn't really make sense.
but it kind of does.
But a little bit it does. As I say that, I'm like, but maybe I don't agree with myself.
Well, I
Like-
feel like this was a freeing movie for all of those characters. It helped them kind of get out. Because, like, we think about, like, Renee Montoya, right? Like, she's in, like, this crap job. She's been overshadowed. She's been passed up. And so she's glad to be out, essentially.
This was the character I liked the least, by the way.
Really?
Oh, really?
Like, it's not like that she was bad. I still liked her. Just she seemed like on like a different, like kind of lower level than all of the other characters in their like development. Yeah, I get that she's like a detective, so she's sort of more like by the book and everything, which isn't really what this movie is about. But I just didn't feel like a push or like a super specific like character thing from her. So
Okay.
sorry, that was just like a quick little.
That's fair. That's fair. But, like, really going back to my point here, like, the Huntress, right? Like, it's about her, like, getting the courage up to, like, go back through and take out her kill list, but also to stand up for herself and who she is and what name she wants to put for herself. Because she's been, like, trained as an assassin, been told what to do, how to do it, and she's, like, grown into her own and done her own thing. That's why she has a little crossbow. That's why she has a name. But she has to, like, talk herself up to it because she's been through such trauma. And then like Cassandra, I just forgot her last name. Cassandra Cain. Like I like her story as well. I think it's really interesting, and maybe this is the one part where maybe going down to a PG-13 level for some people might have been better because she was a teenager, right? She was like coming out of this experience, like she had step parents or foster parents who weren't great to her, you know, and yada yada yada. And then she's just trying to like go about her day and like find her own style in life, and that was being a pickpocket, you know, swallowing large diamonds that probably wouldn't fit through your colon. Like I have to say it like that. Like it was really cool to kind of see these people like grow and kind of like recognize, like it's okay to be me.
No, 100%.
Tear your esophagus. Sorry, I'm just like thinking about that. Anyway, sorry.
It 100% is. This is a movie about female empowerment, and this is really why I wanted you on this podcast.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of feelings about it and a lot of like thoughts, and just that it definitely is a movie where women really need to find their own identities. And one of the things I really liked about it was there were times when, you know, different people needed to be saved by different people. But one of the big things that I've kind of thought about a lot in my life is that I can't, as a woman, I can't rely on a man to save me. I can't rely on a man to fix my problems. I can't rely on a man. And it's not because I don't love Casey as my husband. It's because my dad actually taught me my whole life that I needed to go to school. I needed to be able to count on myself. You can't count on someone else to be, you know, the breadwinner, to be the provider. Like you have yourself. And at the same time also shows that I wrote something down that I wanted to say. We have to save ourselves, and as women, we have to be there for each other. Because, I'm definitely not the kind of feminist that thinks that women are better than men. I'm not the kind of feminist that thinks that we don't need men. I'm the kind of feminist that just wants to be equal. And I see that the issues that men have in terms of that as well. And because of that, I see that, you know, at the end of the day, we just need to be supportive of each other and be there for each other. And that's why I kind of liked it, because even in a situation where like, it's not meant to be like, it's not super like touchy feely, oh, you know, like chick flicky, like we talked about a little bit earlier. It's very much like, well, we're all in this situation. It's kind of a crap fest. None of us really want to be here. Maybe we don't love each other, but we have to work together. And I feel like that's a situation a lot of women find themselves in at some point, is maybe there's someone that you're like, historically, you haven't been my favorite person, but now we're in a similar situation, whether it's a situation at work and you have a misogynistic boss. I've been in that situation. Whether you meet somebody that has a similar situation where, you know, you're in a bad relationship with someone and you meet someone else that has that kind of situation. And then also coming from a point where, when I was younger, I was in a really bad relationship with somebody who was really emotionally abusive to me. And so I really identified with Harley's character, and just seeing her realize her own personal worth, that she doesn't have to be subservient to a man, that she doesn't have to let another person define who she is and who she wants to be. And so as a woman who has been in that kind of really negative relationship, long time ago, definitely not Casey, everybody. Casey is the greatest female empowerment husband of all time.
I just let I do it once. I don't control her.
But from being in that place, it's empowering to see that, and it's empowering to see that you can come out of that. Another thing I do want to talk about and bring it up, and you guys are welcome to shut me up and bring it up at any time, but this movie's statement on rape culture was everything to me.
And are you talking about the scene outside of the bar? Or is
well, there's a whole bunch of it, actually. So the scene outside the bar where Black Canary comes in and saves Harley Quinn, because that was one thing that really got me thinking about, like, Harley still sometimes needs someone to help her, and that's okay. That's the thing as women, is sometimes we feel like we really have to do everything on our own in order to be empowered and be feminist. That's not the case. That's why I say we have to be there for each other. But definitely that scene. But then another thing that was really big was just in general, Roman is the villain's name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black Mask.
Mm-hmm.
In general, he is the epitome of rape culture to me. He's the epitome of that kind of man that I cannot stand, and the kind of man that I think needs to just not be, because his everything from his lair with, the naked women in like bondage outfits.
Oh, the ones painted on the walls.
Like,
And it's more than just that too. Like it's everything down from like the statues that you see with the hands covering the eyes or covering the mouth or covering the ears. The hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil whole quote thing. His mask, like his black mask. So originally the character in the comic book, his mask was built from his father's casket after he died. They completely changed that. So it's kind of like a gimp mask in this one now. It's like everything around him is so sexualized.
Yes. It's just very like, and then when the part where he thinks that the woman is laughing at him in the nightclub, is the epitome of the quote by Margaret Atwood. She's the one who wrote Handmaid's Tale. And she said, her quote is that you hear a lot, and I love it, is men are afraid that women will laugh at them, and women are afraid that men will kill them. And you really see that in that scene, is she's laughing not at him, at a joke, and he loses his mind and then proceeds to handle the situation by making her stand on a table and take off her dress.
Like,
That is rape culture.
right, to
That
dance
is rape
and
culture.
then make someone else like cut her dress off her and stand there ashamed, embarrassed, and like broken.
Even
Like,
though
that's a
she was
terrible
not
scene.
necessarily like physically assaulted, that is such an act of rape culture, of assault against someone, of harassment against someone. And these are the kinds of things, maybe not necessarily that, but these are the kinds of things that women experience on a regular basis. You mentioned, that your wife has experienced things like that in the workplace. I've experienced things like that in the workplace with just bosses that are misogynistic, and what do you do? And so just that, I just really liked the contrast of that is who the villain was definitely that very sexualized, very rape culture definition man. And then you have these women who come out, and all of them have to find their identity and be who they are, which is really cool. And it's
so
also
cool.
different.
And I hope that like everyone can like take something and really like move forward with that, because when I saw that particular scene that we were talking about, I was super like uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is like so weird. And at first I was like, why did they put this? But then when I think about it and it's representing that, it's like, hey, like this exists, this happens in the world today. If you feel uncomfortable right now, like think about the people that are thrust and are unwillingly like put into those situations, and like what we can do to be able to help and empower people who are put through things like that.
Well, and there's something like that I think about a lot, especially when it comes to anything that needs to be changed, right? Whether like it's rape culture, whether it's just the way that we treat each other, like whether it's the way men treat women, women treat men, like vice versa, whatever, right? And primarily with this is like my takeaway from it is the same as it always is with me. I learned about this in the Philippines. It starts with me. And like I have to be the change. I have to be one who speaks up, right? And that's something that I took from this. Is like the reality of it is like you can see something happen, but if you don't start the change or you don't speak up for it and be like a voice, and it's just kind of like I was saying, like Harley doesn't need someone there all the time, but there's sometimes you just need a lending hand. And it starts with someone just literally coming over and being like, hey, actually we're changing plans, like, and then breaking someone's face off in the door or the glass, right? And like just going from there. Like this was a very powerful, like I like that you said, Al, like it I have no other words to add. Ditto? I don't know. It's just like I can't say any better than you've said it.
Well, and I just have one more thing I want to say while I'm talking about, women's empowerment, feminism, all that good stuff. One of the things I liked about this movie was kind of its statement on male gaze. And we talked a little bit about this in the previews not for the movie, but while we were waiting and watching the previews. And male gaze is something that is really, really, really talked about when it comes to movies. Yeah, male gaze.
Gaze.
Yes. Yes, sorry.
I see what you're
the
confused
male
about
gaze. Not gaze anyway.
Not like a gay person, like
yes,
looking at someone.
Gaze. Is that it's very much it's talked about a lot with movies about women, where the women are the main characters. Is it built around sort of objectifying women, sexualizing women, those kinds of things, and a lot of different movies with those women talk about it. And we were talking about it in terms of 007, James Bond movies, talking about, a female Bond. And I was just talking about how I would love to see a lesbian James Bond version. But I was like, but I really worry that it would just be really targeted towards male gaze and blah, 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 blah. Again, so just the way that they're looked at, I really liked the way this movie did that, because there are times when Harley just looks like a hot mess. And it's very clear that like the movie is about what she is doing, not about how she looks doing it. So that's just one last thing I want to talk about was just I appreciated that it wasn't geared towards that, and I want to continue seeing movies with strong female characters, and just in general where it's the women aren't just there to be pretty. And so it meant a lot to me that there were times when she looked a hot mess because I was like, oh man, I'm glad that I'm not the only one.
No, yeah, for real. Like when I went into like the movie, I'm not gonna lie, I was there, you know, because we were watching it tonight for the podcast, but I felt weird. I'm like, I'm going to see this movie where there's like a lot of like women and everything like that, and I'm like going in there like by myself, just like me going to see a movie. And I thought it was weird. I got there were a lot of like guys who were just like there by themselves, and so I was like, maybe they are all like going to see it like for a podcast for me or something or for whatever. But I think it was because a lot of them really probably thought that it would be like that the women in these movies would probably be sexualized like they are in a lot of movies. And so I was really happy to say, hey, like these women were like badass and it was awesome. But it wasn't like, not to like push it too far, they're like swinging and like boobs are flying everywhere and just like, so like all of these guys can just be there like, yeah. So I like that too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That is my version of like the white misogynistic man. Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you for letting me get on my soapbox a little bit about all my feminism feelings about this movie.
No, because you're perfectly explaining everything that was kind of like going through my head, but coming from like the male perspective, you know, of just like I've wanted to see a movie that isn't just what you were explaining. Just like, let's look at pretty girls for a few hours. Like, this is something that has a deeper meaning and something that I think DC is doing a really, really good job at right now. They're not just throwing, I mean, Marvel does a great job too. There's deeper meaning to all their movies, but like starting with the Joker and now this one is where they're not so focused on just, and Wonder Woman, I guess it started with Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
They're not just focused on entertaining you for 2 hours. It gives a good message. And that's one of the reasons why I was questioning the PG-13 rating, because I kind of want to see younger women see these traits in I mean, I guess this is a lot deeper, harder subject matter to cover for a younger woman, so it makes sense that the R rating works. But it's like, it's something that I want my child, when I have one, when I have a little girl, hopefully, like I want those ideas, I want that message out there. Like,
Yeah.
And it's because it's not even just like, hey, that'd be a nice thing and I want my daughter to learn this. That's what they were literally trying to do in the movie, in the big final fight when they're in the house and like fighting all of these dudes. When I saw the trailer, I thought, and when I was watching the first part of the movie, I'm like, oh, they're all going to come together. It's going to be these 5, and the little girl is going to be sort of like, somehow she's going to put her pickpocketing like abilities to use like during this big final fight. But you notice it's all of them like protecting this little girl, and she's also like watching them and seeing how awesome they are. And so like in that same way, they're trying to say like, hey, we want to create like positive role models for like the younger generation to follow. And so who knows, maybe that would have been a good thing or a good reason to make it PG-13 so that a younger audience could have also seen what we're talking about with those positive role models.
Well, it's hard just to guarantee, like, I just don't want to feel like I'm like mansplaining this is really how I'm sitting here. Like, and because I grew up at home, like I don't have any sisters, like getting involved with like Allie and her family, like really like brought me down to the reality of like people who have sisters lead a lot different life than I ever did. Like very much different.
I have 2 sisters only. I don't have any brothers.
Yeah.
So watching this, I was just like, yeah. Like,
Well, the
you do it, Harley. You do your thing. Go Black Canary. I love Black Canary. And she's like one of my favorites. And every scene, every action sequence, which I'm pretty sure the actress that plays her, Journey Smollett-Bell, I'm pretty sure she does all of her own stunts, like all that action stuff. Like she's a martial artist, kick-ass lady, you know. Like
she also sung that song herself.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. She sings too. Like it just shows off her talents. The amount of representation in this movie is crazy. You got a gay villain. You got I don't need to go in at all, but you've got every race, you know, kind of like represented here, and all of them are unique people that you know that are just so cool. Like there's things to love about every single one of them.
Well, it just really outlined that we can work together, and especially like the part like that kind of hit me is like, right, they're in the thing, they're fighting around the circle with all the hands going everywhere, right, and then they go out the tunnel, and right there where it's like, do you have any more bullets? Do you have any more of this? And like the part where Black Canary steps up and she like uses her supersonic voice at that point. It was like she wasn't certain she could do it. And they're just like, you got to do it. You got to go for it. She's like, just get behind me and go for it. You've got to use that one bullet. And it was just kind of like, it proved that collaboration, like amongst people, and especially in this amongst women, is going to yield positive results. So why should we spend more time tearing each other down when really we're not perfect, but let's work together to make a better, experience out of it, or to create the outcome we need.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm not gonna lie, like that part was one of my only like critiques of the movie, because even though I liked what happened, like I know that we're living in like the superhero world, and supposedly I don't know exactly like how all of like the DC stuff fits in, but like supposedly like there's like Aquaman and like all these other people who do have like superpowers in this world. But since this movie was like so focused on just like really like hand to hand like actual action and not really any powers, that happened and I was just like, whoa, like what just happened? Like I got like taken out of the movie for half a second because I was like, there's been nothing like superpower related this entire movie, and that happened and it was cool. But then I was just like, whoa,
it was
like,
a weird
wait
introduction though. It was like, because most of the DC universe, right, they have like biomechanics skills, like it has to do with like a chemical or like some sort of research changing people, or you're just really wealthy, or you're some sort of
they've got some kind of origin.
Yeah.
I don't know what her origin originally is, but I think it alludes in the movie that her mom also had this ability, so I don't know exactly where it comes from, but they call them metahumans, so just she's a metahuman. She has that ability. Cool. My nitpick about that scene though was why, after all this big action sequence fighting all these guys and seeing the army that Sionis has outside, did they decide just to walk out the front door?
For real.
Vince.
Just, to
face people
like,
head on, man.
Everything else is great. You lost me here.
One of my favorite things about this movie was how well they balanced action and humor. Like literally in the middle of the fight where they're moving to like a next sequence where it could be something that people like had a nitpick about, all of a sudden Harley Quinn's there and she's got her hammer, which was super cool. Like I thought it was gonna be like
finally
way
just
like
the hammer.
I thought it was just gonna be like way over the top and just like comedic, like cartoony, with like her hitting people with it, and it was just so real and like R-rated, like what she's doing, and I was like, whoa, like yes, I like this. What I loved was when they were like so they did that, and then the other girls are just like what did she have time to like tie on roller skates?
Yes.
And then the entire sequence where after Black Canary launches her and she goes and catches up with the car, where she's holding onto the car and moving all around with the car while she has the roller skates, perfect. I loved it so much.
I also loved when Black Canary asks Harley Quinn for a hair tie.
Yeah.
It was just so like, I was
Mid-fight.
like, oh, this is so real. Like, this is so like, like, oh, do you have a hair tie? Like, you're not going to be, you're not going to be in this big fight the whole time with with her, like, gorgeous hair just like all over the place. Like, kind of goes back to like my conversation about like who it's geared for looking at. It's like, no, like you're just going to throw your hair up and be like, okay, now I can go.
Well, I think we're running a little short. Sorry to cut the party, guys. I think we should do another episode, maybe a quick Origins episode. But Josh, if you were to recommend this to a friend and describe it in a quick sentence, paragraph, whatever you want to do, how would you recommend this to a friend and why they should go see it?
On the spot.
That's what I do.
Do you like action movies? This movie is a bone-crunching, female-empowering marathon that you will love and enjoy, and it's fun every single second along the whole way.
Boom. Allie, how would you describe this to a friend?
Women, do you like feeling empowered? Men, do you want to see how not to be an ass? Go see this movie.
Right? That is a bold quote.
I just mic dropped. Vince, how about you?
I think you guys nailed it. I would also, if I was going to pitch it to my nerd friends, I would be like, did you like Suicide Squad? And they would say no. And I'd say, well, that's one did it right.
Well, go see this movie then.
Well, this was great. I just can't top anything you guys have said. So I'm not going to try. But folks, if you want to go see a really cool movie this weekend, next weekend, any day of the week, go check out this movie that has a ridiculously long title, Birds of Prey and the
Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
Boom. There you go. And check it out. If you want to go ahead and just let us know your thoughts, just respond to us on the social, Instagram, Twitter. We have a Facebook page. We have YouTube as well. Vince has done an amazing job at getting our YouTube videos up.
We're just getting as much content out everywhere as we can, so you can find it anywhere.
Yeah, we want to grow, and we want you guys to be able to know who we are. And so I think we're going to try recording a live version of our podcast one of these times and seeing how it works. I think it could be fun. I just have to reorganize this room a little bit.
Yeah.
Paint it.
Paint it. Yeah, I'll paint it soon. But yeah, anything else before we kind of close this episode out, folks?
We got to talk about our event that we're doing on social media, as well as what we're watching next week.
Can we do a quick drum roll for this event that we've organized? Everyone do your drum rolls. So last time, like 6 months ago, we did the Nolan bracket, right?
Yes.
And that was a lot of fun, and we ended up watching Batman, which is, Batman the Dark Knight, specifically. And it was great. And now we're going to do a little bit different one. Josh, do you want to introduce our next bracket?
Yeah, so we're definitely all gearing up for what is going to be the beginning of Phase 4 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like it or hate it, Marvel has created has changed like superhero movie culture like as we know it during our generation. And so we are wanting to do a bracket to see, again, what you guys think was the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie from the first, they call it the Infinity Saga, from the first 22 movies, I believe, all the way from Iron Man to Spider-Man Far From Home. So we've got that set up. It is going to be going live today when you guys are listening to it, which is on Tuesday, February 11th, right?
Yes.
That's when this is going up?
See.
Okay, so if you're listening to this like when it comes out, it should be going up. We got stuff today. If you're listening to it after, a few days after, we should probably still have stuff rolling out. Make sure to get on social media. We'll probably have votes on Twitter and on Instagram so that we can vote and you guys can tell us what is the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie from the Infinity Saga.
Don't let me down, guys. I have high hopes for all of you.
You better pick the right one.
If you don't pick the right ones, we'll do the ones I want anyway. So I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, really, jump in. Join us in figuring out what the favorite Marvel movie is. And really, let's battle this out. Vote, get your friends to vote, participate, and join us. And really, let us know what you want. We want to start throwing in, like, user-generated content out of this. So, like, let us know your thoughts on it. Vince, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm excited to see if it's not Endgame.
I will say that I did the seeding just based on a few different scores across different websites that give movies scores, and Endgame came out as number 1 as a clear favorite. Bonus points if you can tell me what number 2 is.
I already know, so I'm not going to say
Oh
anything.
yeah, it's true.
You
Show
showed me.
Vince.
I looked at it,
It
but I don't
surprised
remember.
me. Like, I guess it shouldn't because it is really good. Guardians of the Galaxy
Really?
Oh, no, that doesn't surprise me
comes
at
in
all.
at number 2.
That's actually, it makes sense.
Want to know what my number 1 is?
I
Wonder
know what your
Woman?
number 1 is, and it's number 21 on the list.
Freaking
I'm sorry.
kidding me.
What mostly brought it down, and I didn't remember this. Holy cow!
Oh, Captain Marvel. I just said
Captain
Wonder
Marvel?
Woman. I'm looking at the
Casey.
wrong stuff
Captain
here.
Marvel has a 49% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
You know, it got very political on Twitter about that
Boo,
movie,
people are
so
lame.
yeah.
So we can prove everyone wrong, and
love
we can vote
Captain
it through.
Marvel. I love it.
It's
I
not the
love her.
lowest one though, because I think Thor: The Dark World is.
Yeah, that makes me so mad because I love the Thor trilogy, and I think they should all be up top.
Thor: The Dark World has one of the worst movie posters, in my opinion, of all time. But that's because I'm nerdy.
Okay.
I would also argue it has one of the worst Marvel characters in it.
I don't
Not
honestly
Thor.
remember that movie. I
I
just
didn't like the girl. I can't remember
The
her
Antler
name.
Girl.
The
Oh, no,
one
that's
from
Ragnarok.
Two Broke Girls.
Oh,
I don't know her name. She's
Kat
like the
Dennings.
assistant, Kat Dennings. I just don't. She doesn't make me laugh. I'm sorry. She just doesn't work
She's
for
not
me.
that funny.
And
Okay.
of course, the MCU movie we all forget about is in there at number, I think it's like 21, The Incredible Hulk.
I
That's
never
in there.
forget that.
Before
Eric
Captain
Bana
Marvel,
is in that,
that
one, right? The
hurts
original.
Like one
my
above it.
feelings.
No, that was Hulk.
Yeah, it hurts mine
Yeah.
too, and
It
it doesn't make
hurts
sense.
my feelings.
What?
That anything is above Captain
It's not even Mark
Marvel.
Ruffalo. It's the guy, I don't even
It's-
know his name,
it's
but the
Edward Norton.
illusionist. Yeah, him.
He's great. I like that one. I'll argue that one. I enjoyed it a lot. Now we're getting long-winded. But anyhow, the Marvel
okay.
bracket's coming out. What are we watching next week?
I've got a hankering for one of my favorite Oscar-nominated movies of the year. If you guys remember, it came out at number 2 on my best of 2019. Jojo Rabbit.
I think that would be super cool, Josh. I appreciate your hankering and I'm down with it. So, folks, next week we'll be watching Jojo Rabbit.
Shoujo.
Jojo? I don't know anything about this.
Starring Robin Griffin Davis, Thomasin McKenzie, Taika Waititi in it, as well as Adolf Hitler, his imaginary friend. So just look forward to everything. Scarlett Johansson, of course, and her Oscar-nominated performance as a supporting actress in this is amazing. And everything in this movie is super good. So get ready
to laugh.
for...
Get ready to laugh. Get ready to cry.
Get ready to feel all the feels, man.
Well, then we will. Next week, join us as we talk Jojo Rabbit. But thank you for tuning in to this, another great episode of the Pause Rewind Play podcast. Find us on Twitter. Find us on Instagram. Find us on YouTube. But also find us everywhere the podcast can be played. So thank you once again for joining us.